order coming from the bench to, I want to back up a minute. Pam has a special needs trust, and she had, she has been on disability, and she has a doctor's declaration on file with the court that she is perfectly competent to handle her own affairs.
Right.
And I have spoken extensively with Pam Barbarito, and I'm impressed with her intelligence and her sensitivity and her grasp of the legal issues that are now sort of clobbering her. So she has this declaration, and the judge went ahead and accepted the resignation of the trustee and dissolved the trust. And so Pam, took her money, and then the trustee apparently wasn't expecting that, wasn't at the hearing, wasn't expecting it, got upset and said, well, I need $30,000 to wind up the affairs of the trust. So the judge ordered that Pam turn over $30,000 to Sandra Hill, the fiduciary. And Pam refused to do it, and then that's when Judge Volkman approved the bench warrant. And basically, we don't have debtors' prisons in the U.S. So approving a bench warrant, putting someone in jail
because they didn't pay a debt,
because they won't pay a debt, is actually it's off the charts. But I want to talk a little more about the nature of this debt, because Pam Barbarito, first of all, presented some evidence to the court, which I reviewed and found compelling, that Sandra Hill may have misappropriated somewhere in the nature of $12,000 or $13,000 in a very brief time. Number one, and number two, Sandra Hill is stating to the court apparently that one of the reasons she needs this $30,000 is, well, she's got to pay taxes on the trust. Well, she's already sent communications, which I have also reviewed, to Pam Barbarito saying, I'm not going to pay the taxes, you pay them. So really, what does Sandra Hill need this $30,000 for? I mean, where is this money going to go? Why did Judge Volkman express such disinterest in Pam's evidence of alleged misappropriation? So, there's a lot of issues going on in this case as well. And
the judge, isn't the judge a big issue?
Well, the judges are always a big issue. I want to say one thing more, though, about Miss Barbarito, because, she is somebody who is living with a disability. And the court, I believe, should be, somewhat concerned about her welfare and also her health. And throughout this process, because of actions tied to the court and the trustee, Miss Barbarito has lost the lion's share of her medical insurance as well. So, what we have, again, is this property issue. Now, if it's not a person as property, then it's that person's property as property. And frankly, the system, the legal system, the attorneys, the fiduciaries, the judges, they're behaving more and more as if everything's mine. What's yours is mine, what's mine is mine, and you over there, what you got, that's mine too. And this is, and on top of it all, you're mine, So, this is just very, very, something that cannot be said over and over enough. So, what I want to say about the Barbarito case, too, is that we began, Pam and I, mostly Pam, because she was doing most of the research, began to look a little bit deeper at this judge. We got his Form 700s, which are his mandated financial disclosure forms, and we found that he was getting hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for 3 years running. As he ascended to the bench in 2008, so for 3 years running, he reported getting hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to, kind of pay off his position as a partner, I guess, in the law firm he had been with before he ascended to the bench. Unfortunately, his name seems to appear in connection with some of those firms' cases. So as soon as we began to have some questions about this, we contacted the court, and then I got a letter from the attorney from the opposing side saying, "Well, we're not going forward with the bench warrant. That's okay."
Sure. As soon as they, yeah.
So they did pull back the bench warrant. So Pam is not in danger of being arrested for
a debt,
for
refusing to pay
money, pay a debt that she may not actually
doesn't even
owe.
know. Right? She doesn't know a
Yeah.
debt she doesn't even know.
Right.
Well,
So
listen, they steal houses with
did-
mortgages, so why not, right? Unbelievable.
Well, it's like it's that mine business. What's
Yes.
yours is mine. What's mine is mine, and you're mine too.
Yeah.
So this is this problem. It's a boundary issue. It's like
What about that case in California where
there's a huge hunger to own everything that everybody else has. So
No, that's true. But what about that issue back in the early '90s or in the '90s in California where they killed that guy because they wanted his land? They were trying to get his land. They made this fraudulent claim that he had marijuana growing on his property, and they shot him. Oh, it was a big case. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but I mean, again, it was this land grabbing. This whole the government is just trying to take everything they can, and then those in it, as well. It's just unbelievable. Anyway, don't want to lose your train of thought there.
well, I do have a letter from the I guess the senior partner of the firm that Judge Volkman was in prior to ascending to the bench, and it has been affirmed here. I want to just read a couple sentences here because I want to be absolutely accurate. Because as I mentioned, there were 3 years where he was getting all this money from the firm and the payout stopped. So it says, Tim Schmal writes, therefore, as of November 2011, once Judge Volkman clearly had absolutely no financial interest in our then renamed firm, after his ownership interest as of July 2008 had been paid, and after the expiration of the statutory waiting period for hearing matters, Judge Volkman then began handling our firm's matters, subject to full disclosure to opposing parties and counsel regarding the nature of his former relationship with our firm and our continued friendship. So I personally want to state that no matter what the law says, I would be very uncomfortable to know that a case that I am involved in, that a judge sitting on the case would have the year before received over $100,000 from a party to that case. I would be uncomfortable with that. But that's, I guess, just me. And I do want to also, state that the partner, Tim Schmal, is making some noises about, if I say something that isn't factually erroneous information about me, my partners, or my law firm could give rise to an actionable tort, and that is something we will seriously consider pursuing if that were to happen. In other words, you better watch what you say or we're going to sue you.
Yeah.
So,
keep it on the record. Yeah.
Just want to say that I am, attempting to bend over backwards here to be absolutely accurate in my representation of the fact that Judge Volkman received for 3 years running. He's been on the bench 4.5 years. For three years running, he received over $100,000 a year from this law firm, and then proceeded following that to hear that firm's cases. So, and upon realization that this was actually the case, he apparently somebody involved in this case decided not to pursue the bench warrant. So you can make whatever conclusions you want from that.
That's what happened.
Mm-hmm. So,
Janet, you're what you do and exposing the truth and not having any agenda behind it and just getting to the truth, not some political agenda or corporate agenda or New World Order agenda. Just telling the truth, exposing the lies is what an investigative journalist is to do. Not very many people really do this. They just get paid to just tell a story, and then if the story's not right, the editor changes it, and then you say, "Why'd you change that?" Well, that's just the way it's going to be. And you stand your ground, and that's what investigative journalism is all about. That's my viewpoint, you know.
Yeah.
So yes, oh, definitely. I mean, and you're a pit bull.
Thank you. You couldn't say anything nicer.
You're a pit bull, and it's always great to have you on. I mean, I basically just listen because you have, your work is so well researched, and you really, you don't take no for an answer, and you do the hard labor, the legwork, and I know what it involves. I mean, God, it's just unbelievable. So, I'm just giving you a little bit of a credit, which you certainly deserve. And there's just need to be more of these journalists, people coming out of school. You see, again, it's back to like you said, the controlled environment, Janet. You got these people coming in our school that want to be journalists, and they're given this like sheep. This is this journalism for sheep. That's what they're given, and just like medicine for sheep.
I can't even figure out what J schools are teaching people anymore.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, I'll tell you, I had a very interesting little encounter a couple of years ago. Well, actually, it must have been about 5 years ago. I was still in the U.S., and I was in transit taking a bus somewhere across state lines, and there was a young lady who had just graduated from it was Dickinson College and was going off to the University of Michigan Law School. And she had graduated in political science, and she was, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and she was, gee, political science. I asked her, gee, okay, well, what is your teachers say? What do you talk about 9/11? And she said, oh, well, we're not allowed to talk about that. I mean, we could lose funding. School could lose funding if we talked about that, so we just don't talk about it. And, I mean, you have to ask. I mean, Dickinson is a private school. It's not, state university. You have to ask what is motivating all of this fear, because it really is fear. It's fear generated. You can't talk about this. Don't look there. Look the other way. Well, while Charlie Castle topples over, I think that, personally, I think the situation has gotten very dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
And I think people who are in certain positions, certain kinds of jobs, will know how very dangerous it is. And the last thing they want, is to have somebody start paying attention to them. I got an email today through my website where somebody was talking about some things that was not so good that were happening, and then that person said, well, I'd really like to talk to you, but is your phone bugged? And I thought, oh, good grief, like whose isn't? Whose isn't?
Yeah, at this point, yeah, sure.
I mean, yeah, and I wrote back, I said, all reporters know their phones are bugged. I mean, I didn't know how else to answer that, So it's there people have gradations, I think, of understanding about how dangerous it is, but I'm very worried. I think we have a window of opportunity right now. I mean, we can still talk about certain things on internet shows, and every now and then on mainstream media, they kind of touch on something.
A little blurb, and then they drop it.
Yeah, well, something, but I am foreseeing that things are going to, in the next couple of years, I think things are going to change very dramatically. And
I think you're right.
As important as possible, while we still have this window, and somebody's going down the street honking. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a very noisy town I live in now. I live in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, and it's very, very noisy.
Well, I tell you, it's 29 degrees here in Torrington, Connecticut, so I'd like to be down in the Yucatan Peninsula right now.
Well, the last couple of days we've been having a storm here.
Oh.
nortes, they're called.
Mm.
The big wind that comes in from the north.